We'll get started in just 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah, we should. Anyhow, we got what we got. It's like church. What are you pointing at? Get in and oh, yeah.
Let me see. Oh, we'll have to connect with the computer, so probably. So that's okay. I could just punch it here.
Okay, I could stand over here and just tell me I'll punch the button.
Okay, that'll work. I do. Okay, I'm ready when you guys are ready.
So when we want to go to the next one, I do enter or just
You can just hit that or the A. Or the A.
But hey, we'll find out. I got more questions.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to Mr. Fred Harris to lead us in an invocation. So if everyone please stand. Now just so long that you know that you're safe. I've been assured that Fred is in no way, shape, form, or fashion related to our former vice president. Just so you know. So
Please, thank you for saying that. I certainly appreciate that.
Just wanted to say. Just wanted to say.
God.
Yeah, thank God. You got that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm also by no means a preacher, so bear with me. Okay. Heavenly Father, as we gather for this meeting, unite our hearts and minds in a common purpose. Grant us wisdom to work together effectively and the humility to value each person's perspective.
Yes.
Guide our discussions and decisions that they honor you and serve our shared goals. In your name, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Fred. Next, we're going to have Mr. David Carter to lead us in our pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under God, one indivisible. Yeehaw.
Thank you. We have a few esteemed guests here, elected officials. Bobby Woodson is here. There he is back there. We thank you for showing up. Excuse my voice here tonight. If my voice shuts down, just give me a second. Anyway, always give Bill Schumann an honorary mention. He's in here too. We appreciate Bill showing up on a regular basis, so wherever he went. Oh, there he is. Yes, sir. Thank you, Bill, for always coming. And we have Dr. Joyce Jones. She is the representative for Water District WDIC or CID. I always say that. Anyway, Water District number 1. And then Roseanne Fisher is Precinct 3, Place 1, Justice of the Peace.
They had to go get their car from the car dealership.
Okay. Well, it's a Ford. So. Just stands to reason they had to go get it back from the dealership after getting it fixed.
Hi, Chevy.
See, that's what I do. I drive a Chevy.
Uh-oh.
And 2 Buicks. Okay, anyway, we have some people in here running for office. Mr. Abraham Garrett is here running for U.S. Congress for our district. So we're on the first side of the table. And also for the same spot, Mr. Raymond Hamden is running. So we're glad to have a choice. And then Clinton Bailey is here, and he's running for Belton City Council, place 6. And if you see plenty of those signs for Belton City Council, there's this place 5 that has 3 people running. He's only got 1 commander and better looking than us to come in and get involved with the Tea Party and with politics. And we have a lovely young lady, Miss Jo Stanford, who's here, and she's in junior high. You're a junior in high school. Okay.
Wow, good.
I have a hard time reading my own notes here. So anybody give her a round of applause. And she's not only here, but she's also been active in helping people campaign. So, she's just a fly on the wall. Okay, anyway, I'm going to have another nice young lady, Dr. Jones, to come up and introduce our speaker of the evening. And she knows this gentleman fairly well, and so much as she's a member of the water board there too. And so if you don't want your lawns to wither up and dry up and blow away, well, you need to be listening to these 2 people and
Water on the phone.
working on helping us work on the problem of shortages of water. So without further ado, I'm going to let Joyce Jones introduce our speaker.
It's not letting me see.
This is a privilege. We are indebted. We are deeply indebted to the people who have come before us. Back in the 50s, when most of us were not here, some people made some definite sacrifices. The people along the Leon River in what they call Tennessee Valley gave up their homes. They moved their cemeteries in order for us to have that beautiful Lake Belton. Other people along the land passes gave up their homes so that we might have water today. And it seemed like an endless supply as we looked out over that beautiful, huge lake. But now we are the fastest growing area in the United States. We are running out of water. So I want to introduce to you our speaker, R.garrett. He's an Aggie, an engineer, and I have to tell you that he even speaks in such a way that a poor psychology professor can understand something about engineering. because I don't. That's not my field, obviously. And he has been able to take the problems that we look at water and waste and to translate it into ways that people on the board can actually make decisions about our future. So if you will give your attention to R.garrett, he has some interesting information to give us about this problem and how he's going to help us solve it.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. I appreciate it. It's great to be here tonight, speak to you folks about water. It's all I've done for 30-something years is water, so I know a little bit about it. Before I go into the current sort of water shortage situation, I just wanted to say a little bit about WCID1 and what we do, who we are. So we have been around since the 50s. We started when the Corps of Engineers built the first water plant on Lake Belton. You can go ahead there. You'll be able to point the right arrow. There we go.
Oops, got too many.
Too many. We'll get to that one.
This is a first
Okay,
world
there we
problem.
go. This is good. So we serve Belton, 439, WCID3, Harker Heights, Killeen, Coppers Cove. We have a 7-member board, 3 from the city of Killeen, and the remaining 4 are distributed by population from Belton to Cove. Most everyone has their own candidate. Cove has a little bit that's divided with WCID3 and 439. That's the kind of a misshaped thing, but we had to do that for population purposes. So that's our precincts. We have elections every other year. Either 3 are up for re-election or 4 are up for re-election. We have board meetings once a month, every fourth Wednesday of the month at 9 a.m. We have a couple of called workshops every year, a budget workshop and a conservation and planning workshop. And we do called meetings on occasion as issues arise.
Where are the meetings?
They're at 38th Street, across from Killeen High. They're at, it's the wastewater plant, the main wastewater plant is where our administrative offices are. It either doesn't go or it goes real quick.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go. So from oldest to newest of facilities, the upper right is the Belton water plant. And that was the plant that was completed by the Corps of Engineers in 1954. And we lease that plant to this very day. We have built 3 other plants on the same site. And those we own and operate, and we have a good working relationship with the Corps, but also with Fort Cavazos, Fort Hood, as we know it. Want to give kudos to Brian Dosa. He's head of DPW there. He's an ad hoc member on our board, and he has been great to work with. The next oldest facility is the upper left there. That's where we office at 201 South 38th. That plant was transferred to us in 1968 from the U.S. government. We treat all of the Killeen's wastewater and Fort Cavazos, Fort Hood's wastewater there. Next oldest is the kind of in the center of the screen there with the orange ladder. That's a south wastewater plant off Chaparral Road that picks up a lot of the newer growth in Killeen and Heights, and it was commissioned in 2007. The lower left is a regional compost facility, and that came online in 2011. We make a grade A compost, and we sell to anybody and everybody that needs some compost or mulch. You can come and pick up, you can come in a car, we have bags, or you can send a semi. We'll sell it all. The lower picture is our newest facility. That's the Lake Stillhouse water plant, and that came online in 2021, summer of 21. So this was an outcome of our recent master plan that we updated It was found in the fall of 21 and, or substantial then, and then was completed early 22. So the blue lines, the vertical lines, are an individual entity that we serve. And they represent how many acre feet that entity needs in water supply in their 50-year planning period. So in aggregate, over the 50 years, we need north of 18,000 acre feet to meet projected needs. And we didn't project their needs for them. What we did, the engineer and I, we took their projection that was in the most recent state water plan, and we graphed it and we brought it to them. Each entity we met with individually and said, this is what the state shows for your growth and your water needs. You agree? Is it too light? Is it too aggressive? And we got all answers. We got, looks about right, it's not near aggressive enough, or it's too aggressive. We got all those answers, and we took their answers, and that's what these bars represent. So water supply, not to be confused with water treatment capacity. So water supply is, we're 100% surface water. And in Texas, if you want to use surface water, you have to have water rights. And that's a state application and purchase thing, and there's a senior water rights system. And that's where the pecking order comes in. So those with the oldest water rights get theirs first. And so getting a water right today is not worth a whole lot in a drought, because there's a whole lot of people in front of you who get their choice first. But there's no other water in the Brazos River Basin to allocate. We get 100% of our water from the Brazos River Authority. We have over 62,000 acre feet. An acre feet of water is roughly a football field in area, filled 1 foot deep. That's 1 acre foot. So that's how it's measured in water supplies in acre feet. The next outcome of our master plan was or water master plan was our water treatment capacity needs. And same process we did. We looked at treatment capacity, how much they had. All of our wholesale contracts have those two components. How much water rights are you contracting, and how much treatment capacity in million gallons a day are you contracting? And so you get a similar kind of a stair-step looking diagram. And this need, so we had some that was needing water in the very near future, along with our plant condition, because that's the other part of the master plan, is it's a condition and capacity. We've still got some infrastructure on the Belton plant site that's some from the 50s, not a whole lot, but some infrastructure from the 50s, but a whole lot from the 70s, and we're kind of on borrowed time there. So we needed to do the condition upgrade, whether or not anyone said, yeah, we want capacity or not. But at the end of the day, we're expanding by 12 MGD, and we're upgrading everything that needs upgrade. And so that's a big bond issue. It's about $100 million, and that's a big rate impact for people. Yes, sir.
Is this like, are you talking about upgrading the pipes that are getting old and the pipelines have to be replaced, or some other aspect?
This is mostly large electrical, switchgear, motor starters, motors themselves. Electrical and mechanical was probably better than a third of the overall cost. We have the big, what we call sludge collectors. It's the big rakes that turn very slowly. We have 4 of those to replace. The 2 of the original from Plant 1, the 1954 era, they still turn. You go out there and they're still working.
Wow.
But when you dewater that basin and you look, how are we going to rehab? Well, there's not enough metal to rehab. It's just those drives and everything very resilient.
Is this wastewater or
Water.
first?
So it's clarification.
Is this potable water or wastewater?
It's potable water.
Okay.
It's raw water coming in, we treat it, make it potable. Yeah, we don't treat potable, it's raw when we get it. So this was, we've named Archer Western as our construction manager at risk. We're at 30% final design, and that's a little bit of a misnomer because there's big components that are kind of plug and play. So by October, we will have 100% of the design. What I've learned about construction manager at risk is around the 30% mark, the engineers have to open their books to the contractor, and they get feedback from the contractor on constructability, on sequencing. If we did this first, it makes it easier to do this, that. And so far, I'm a big fan. There, as you go, the big dollar items have to be, the contractor has to give us a guaranteed maximum price. And in doing that, they actually have to take bids. They can bid on it themselves, but they have to take competitive bids and show us the numbers. So as we go along in that way, if we find that what we've set aside for funding isn't sufficient, we change course. We cut something out, cut something back, whatever we got to do so that the funding is right. And from what we've learned early with the contractor is I think we're going to save quite a bit of time, which also means money because there's a lot less overhead involved. Go ahead. So this is what this plant project we're doing now, this is what it does. So it gets us not quite a third of the way of what we need in the 50 years. It's a big step, but it doesn't get us everything we need. So the next expansion will also be at the Belton Water Plant, and it'll be to that second bar, horizontal bar there. And at that point, the Belton Water Plant site will be completely developed. The intake we have can only deliver 120 million gallons a day. The only way to modify the intake is to drain the lake, or you can do some tunneling in the wet. It's happened in Lake Travis, but you really got to open your checkbooks if you do that. Plus, as far as the footprint on the site itself where the treatment occurs, we really, between all the facilities there now and the pipes, there's not a lot of footprint left. We would have to acquire some additional surface if we had to do that. But I will say the intake we got, built by the Corps of Engineers, it's second to none. It was well done, well built, well designed. Go ahead, please. So that brings us to the big challenge of today. So we need at least 19,000 acre feet. I think we probably need more, and I'll explain that. So most of the entities that we serve, their way of projecting their water needs is to look what they did the past 10 years and project it forward. If the variables ahead of you and what you're doing are changing, there's nothing wrong with that. But we're seeing variables. I mean, you don't have to look very far to see what happened 10 years ago is not what we're seeing today. We're seeing building like crazy in some areas. It's hot spots, but it's not. You can't just simply project forward and be accurate with that. So if anything, I think we're a little underestimating on this for our entities. And I don't think we're alone in that. A lot of the rural water supply corporations, they do the same thing. They look at what they did 5 or 10 years ago, and then they project forward. And if you look at the growth, Judge Blackburn does this every year at that water symposium, the highest growth rate is in unincorporated areas, which usually means water supply corporations. Okay. Yes, sir.
Is that laziness that they're not projecting steeper than what it was before? You'd think that they would rise up and project more.
Well, I don't know. I could speculate. I could say it's just easy to say, yeah, they're right, and go on to something else. Check the box and move on.
Are these people above you that you don't have any control over or have an arm wrestle with them?
No, they're customers. That's their. When we met with them, we did our best to make sure that they were considering everything they needed to consider, but that's where we can't do more than that. Yes, sir, in the back.
Yeah, earlier, I didn't know you had question and answer now, but earlier I was going to ask, why isn't Temple on the map?
Temple isn't one of our direct customers. We wholesale to all those other entities. Temple has their own treatment works and facilities.
So where is that at?
Well, I don't know exactly. One is over close to the Belton, Summer Falls. Yeah. And then there's another one, they're both along the Lampasas River.
But don't they take the water from Belton?
Not from Belton Lake, it's downstream.
They don't?
They don't.
So, another question I got, is there a lot of springs that are way up in the northern part of Brazos River, or how is Brazos River fed other than its rainfall?
There are springs.
They are good springs?
No,
Oh,
no. The biggest, probably one of the bigger springs contributing to the Brazos is highly saline. It's yes, sir.
Here mentioned Brazos River, and the lake is fed by the Leon River, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that's where Temple's water comes from, is off the downstream Leon River.
On the Leon, yeah. Yes, sir. Okay, so this is the challenge, and since the Brazos River Authority doesn't have other water rights, what can we do? Well, before I skipped ahead, sorry. So this is from the Texas Water Development Board documents. I think this was in 2010. And the right column is total storage in millions of acre feet. Millions of acre feet. So remember, an acre foot is a football field, 1 foot deep. So what you see in that shaded area between 1950 and about 1995 is impoundments of lakes. So that's Lake Waco, Lake Belton, Lake Limestone, Lake Whitney. But since 1995, you don't see, the line is flat. In 1996, we had a pretty tough drought. Some of you may remember, but that's when the state passed Senate Bill 1 that required doing statewide water plans every 5 years and updating them. And that we still do that to this day. Judge Blackburn is one of our representatives on that board that meets at the BRA in Waco periodically. And it's a good process. They strive to keep people involved and tuned into their data, but sometimes you got to just keep pushing. Yes, sir.
Does that line, instead of going up and continuing to increase our water supply, does that coincide with a lot of this endangered species stuff and the growing environmental impact? Did they kill our water?
I believe those type issues are why it takes so long to permit a lake. I think
it's one of our problems.
I believe that's a big part of it. Yes, sir. Yeah. So anyway, the water supply, the surface water supply is not growing very fast, if at all. Go ahead. And this graph shows population. So the green is population. Yeah. Excuse me. Again, this graph was put together in 2010, I think. So I looked up Census Bureau figures, and the green was a little bit under projecting our growth. And keep in mind, this is statewide, and we know we're growing much faster than the state average. So one more time, Dr. Jones. So the next graph is our data locally. It's locked up. But it's not a surprise. We show to be water short also. There we go. So in 2050, that's when we're projected to be out of surface water. Doesn't mean we're empty. It means we have the same water to spread however many people we have. So around 2042, at the 85% mark, the state will start asking us, how are you going to add supply to serve your people? Or they're going to say, what conservation measures are you employing so that you can continue to grow without adding water? That's what they're going to say. And that's just the hardship. Yes, sir.
I only been there since 2010, but I was going to move to Georgetown, but I heard Georgetown and Round Rock is taking a lot of water from
Stillhouse. Yeah.
Stillhouse. Now, why is that allowed? When I heard it, maybe this is just to the grapevine, which we need to water our vine instead. But they said that they were supposed to have a retention lake there, but didn't. Now, can you address that?
Yeah, so Lake Georgetown is really a retention lake. So the water is pumped from Lake Stillhouse to Lake Georgetown. It's a much smaller lake. Even though Stillhouse is small compared to Belton, Lake Georgetown is really small compared to Stillhouse. So, but that's retention as much as they have. The fact that they have water rights dates back to the late 80s. And they have been paying every year for the water that they haven't been able to use, just like that we do. Even though we get to use it, they've been paying the same way. They've just never had access to it. Yeah. Good question.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what do? And then we got one strategy here that Judge Blackburn has talked about, and that's form a regional water authority. We had a hearing Monday morning at the Capitol, Senate Bill 1194 that Senator Flores filed, and we met with the Water and Ag Committee that Senator Charles Perry chairs. And Judge Blackburn and I both provided testimony, and I was expecting a fight and some hard questions and get kicked out kind of thing, but it couldn't have gone any better. Senator Perry even asked us at the end of the testimony, can you guys come back next Monday, because that's the same testimony I need for Senate Bill 7 when his Senate bill is going to hit the floor. But he also told us there were 4 or 5 other regional bills that were filed, and he said, all of you have the same testimony. So what he's advocating for the state to actually use state funds for some of the larger pipe in this grid system, what we're doing and what others are doing with these regional entities dovetail right into that. So the state can spend some money and make more water available closer. We'll have to reach out to wherever those folks are and tap into it. But it's still, it would save us quite a bit of money per capita versus going on our own. And by forming a regional entity, unless we all fall apart, that's the thing, is we have to work collaboratively or this whole thing doesn't work. But if we can stay together and we can plan together and everybody can ante up a little bit for overhead, we should be a shoe-in for state funding. The Alliance Water Authority down at Hays County, they formed in 2017. Now before, they had a big advantage on us. Before they went through the legislature to be a water authority, they were already a public utility agency. And so they already were serving Kyle and Buda and San Marcos, Canyon Regional. They already had a big group of customers. So when they went through and became a water authority, they didn't have a whole lot of change. Here, I have 8 customers. Central Texas has 18 spread out there, Central Texas water supply. Blue Bonnet has 6. Otherwise, there's 31 water purveyors in Bell County alone. 31. So that's 31 different entities vying for the same drop of water. If we can work together and keep our cool and everybody understand that the bigger objective is in arm's length, I think we can do this. But I don't have all the answers, obviously. We don't even have an authority yet. But step 1 through the Senate looks really good. It passed out of the Senate committee same day on Monday and was recommended for the local consent calendar, which I've been told means it's a pretty done deal on the Senate side. In fact, if it passes through consent on both sides, the governor doesn't have to sign it. So if all heck breaks loose down there and they go to 5 special sessions and he vetoes everything, we're still good if we get the same reception on the House, which I don't expect because it's a lot more divisive, but we'll just have to see how that goes. And I think, let's go ahead. There's a few questions I've been asked, so I just put them up here. That's a list of the suppliers. There's Judge Blackburn. Again, I commend him for his. This was in February at our annual conservation and planning meeting. He did a spiel for us on the regional thing. So there has been a few questions, and I'm going to try to answer those.
have a question.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other locations in the county or around here where you could put another water impoundment? Or has everything been taken up that can be used for an impoundment?
Can you repeat the question for me?
Yeah, so the question was, is there any one place around here where another water impoundment could be done, or has it been used up? And the low-hanging fruit is gone.
Yeah.
There's places you can add reservoirs, but you don't get the same bang for the buck, because what yields the water is the rivers and creeks. And so when you start adding reservoirs between reservoirs, you're not doubling anything. You're only getting what that watershed will allow through rainfall. But there's some smaller tributaries that there is some more impoundment opportunities, but nothing like the Lake Beltons and Lake Whitneys. Those big ones are gone. So, go ahead, Dr. Jones. Okay, so this is the House bill and Senate bill numbers. We had a few joint authors on the House side, a lot of support. We really haven't, the only antagonists or opponents we've had on this, and we went down and we visited with all the state reps that had area adjacent to our area. So we had 10 or 11 meetings, and the only kind of kickback was from the counties to the east, where the water's got to be pulled from. There's a lot of folks who think they're just going to get sucked dry, and that's, I understand the reason they feel that way. I think the Vista Ridge project that San Antonio did, they didn't have all their science in order when they permitted that. And the first couple of years you didn't hear about it because San Antonio used a small portion of their allotment. But once they figured out the water quality was so good and they were going to pay for everything permitted, whether they took it or not, well, they turned up the pipeline. And when they did, they impacted neighboring well owners because the drawdown was too much. Well, the groundwater district has since lowered the amount of groundwater pumpage that can be, it's called a correlative right. So it was, if you had an acre of land, you could pump 2 acre-feet of water a day. And since these impacts, they've lowered it. So if you have an acre of land, you can pump 1 acre-foot of water a day. And they also have a mitigation fund, so those well owners that had to lower the well got compensated for that. So those groundwater districts are making money hand over fist, but they're getting better on the science side too, so that they're not over permitting like they were. Court cases that played a part in that, and the PR is really bad in some places. Yes, sir.
In the conversations of Judge Blackburn yesterday and your presentation today, y'all use the term groundwater.
Yes.
This is underground water, right?
Yes,
This is
yes,
well.
yes.
This is confusing to us out in the
Yes, sir.
community.
Yes, sir.
Because, and I mentioned to Judge Blackburn, and he said, well, that's the way they talk about it. I think
Yes.
they need to refine their
Yeah.
definition so we
Right.
can understand.
Underground water or surface water, that makes
Yeah.
more sense. That's
Yeah.
more descriptive.
So, and of course, I've got all my life, here in Texas, they used to have newspaper articles, you know, the temperature of the day and the level of the Edwards aquifer.
Yeah.
And it went up and down, and when it got low, everybody got worried. And so just digging more wells and sucking the aquifers down is not a really long-term solution for increasing water.
That's right, that's right. One thing San Antonio did, and is still working today, is aquifer storage and recovery. So that, they got, I think, last I saw it was like 17 wells, but they have a number of Carrizo, Wilcox wells down south of their city. And when the Edwards drops, they move water from the Carrizo into the Edwards. Now, I don't know how the setup is now, but when they were first permitted by TCEQ, they had to return on a 12-month basis, everything they pumped from one side, they had to return to the other. And the Edwards is more like an underground lake than most aquifers. So in a little rainy season, it just fills up. I mean, it doesn't go slow, it gets full. And then San Antonio has to pump it back the other way to replace what they took from Carrizo. And they've been doing that a good 20 years. Last number I saw, they had transferred and banked 11 billion gallons.
That sounds like really good management.
Yes.
It's just a matter of, if we double our population, I'm just wondering how, if that will still be adequate to just move water back and forth.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it has got to be part of the answer for the future. On the east side of the county here, R.garrett could tell you, but there's an ideal storage location in the Austin, which is the lowest Trinity formation. And I've learned, I'm not a groundwater expert or underground water expert, but is that water has a high total dissolved solids. It's saline, it's brackish. And I've heard that's a good thing if you're storing fresh water, because the two waters don't blend that well. They kind of stay separate. And so what you put in there, you can pull back out later. But it's a huge, for the Trinity, it's a huge volume area. And it's west, it's on the east side of the county, and I think we would be foolish if we don't store water there where it can evaporate, can't leave.
Do the bills address that, do you think?
It's mentioned in the bill as a conservation effort. It's still difficult getting those projects approved through TCQ, but it's getting better.
Can you go over again the Reader's Digest version of what these House bill and Senate bill does?
It just establishes an authority, a mechanism that can be used to aggregate interest in water and infrastructure and communicate those interests to the state for funding, can issue bonds if there's enough participants. And I want to talk about that just a second. So at WCID1, we issue bonds on behalf of our customers. We can't issue a dime without their city council approval or their board of directors approval. And I go to several meetings on each time it looks like we need to issue debt. I'm usually, especially clean, I'm usually at that council meeting half a dozen times. And I'll tell you what did it for us with this big bond issue was having tours at the water plant. It's just something different when you're out there and you put eyes on what it is that needs to be replaced. You see the age, you see the condition. It just makes a difference. And but anyway, same thing with this authority. It doesn't have taxing authority, but it has debt issuance authority. But the same thing applies. You can't, even if you're an authority, you can't issue debt on another entity's behalf without their formal approval. So I just want to make that clear. It's not one of those things. I also share that the alliance down in Hays County is a staff of one. Staff of one. Now I think there's a clerk, but now they're fairly new. They were established in 2017, and again, they pretty much have the same customer base, but they contract 100% everything they do. But when his name's Graham Moore, the manager, when he's getting his budget together, he gets updated proposals from legal, from civil engineering, from mechanical, electrical, whatever he's got to do, he gets it in a package. And so the budget is seeing, the board is seeing exactly what he's got, and that becomes the budget, plus his salary, I don't know what he makes, but that's a good roadmap. But for us, having 30 entities in Bell County alone, I don't think that's going to work here. I mean, that would be the goal once everything is kind of put in place, but to start off with, I'm not sure. I don't know how much Judge Blackburn just thought about that, but I thought about it until I started going crazy and I quit thinking about it. Yes, sir.
Why are there so many entities in Bell County, and can they be consolidated?
Most of the water supply corporations started as a rural, like a farmer drilled well. And then he could help provide some water to his neighbors. And to do that, it was perfectly legal, but you had to form a water supply corporation. And that's how a lot of those got started. Nothing wrong with that. And in a rural setting, they work great. But when the unincorporated areas are growing faster than the urban areas, they're not equipped for that. The pipe sizes, the help, the operators, they're just not equipped for that. Fire flows, all of that. So But that's my answer to
So
it.
can those, that number of entities somehow be reduced and consolidated, or?
I would hope so. I would hope so, but they've got to see that it's equitable, that they, they're made whole, all those kind of things. Am I running way over? Because I can cut to the chase here.
No, you're good.
I'm good, okay. So one point I'll make on the WSCs is that being a governmental entity, we can have no more than 9.9% of our revenue come from private sources. In the tax code, a water supply corporation is a private entity. So I can't, so 439 water supply, we serve them through wholesale, but they can only grow to a certain size unless they change their governance. If they change from the water supply corporation to a special utility district or a WCID, then they're tax exempt just like the rest of us, and there's no issues. The same thing will happen with this authority. The authority will be an umbrella that can help a lot because of economy of scales, but they'll run into the same issue with the WSCs. And I've talked to a couple of them and let them know if this legislation goes through, they're still going to need to figure out their governance, or they may not can be helped as much as they need to be. Okay. Yes, sir.
Question, sir. And it's not to be critical, I just want to make sure I understand for whatever I'm telling Belton. First thing, what is going to be the relationship between the CTWA and what you guys do? Is there a clear difference, or is one a parent, or is it partner?
No, it's kind of similar, and I don't know the answer to that. I mean, there's a good chance that I could just be a large customer of this bigger group. There's a chance that we could, well, I don't know, that's probably the most likely.
I ask because, so you guys provide Belton water, is that how that works?
Yeah.
So during Judge Blackburn's, he was talking about the CTWA doesn't have taxing authority,
right,
and how their funding is through membership, right? So tax funding from the top, and the city of Belton, partner with that, and then so whenever the city of Belton joins that, that tax or that extra expense is going to be passed down to the end user, which is the water. So if I'm a resident and I'm like, hey, I'm already paying water dues to you, now I'm getting doubled for somebody else that does the same thing.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm thinking of taxation for the residents, I just want to make sure I clearly understand the difference between the two.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point.
Yes.
That would have to be worked through. And that's one of those sticking points that if you're on the council there and I bring a proposal, you say, this is charging us double, I've got to be able to answer that,
Yes.
or y'all are going to vote no.
Right.
So that's where your opportunity comes in to check that. But that is a possibility that could happen if we don't keep our eyes on
Yes.
the ball. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Good point. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Just from a free market, less government standpoint,
Yeah.
when you're looking at running out of water available to everybody, is something like water harvesting at the household level a good backup for most people to have?
Yeah, I think, and it's just speculation because I don't think any of us know yet. But as prolific as the Carrizo Wilcox is, I think the state of Texas is bigger. And I don't know, we'll find out. But on that note, I think conservation has got to be a lot bigger for all of us, but for our kids and grandkids especially. And it's going to take a lot of bullets. When there's no silver bullet, it's going to take a lot of things. Yes, sir.
So you're saying we don't need a car wash every quarter mile?
I did not say car wash. I did not say that.
Is there any plans for recycling wastewater?
Yeah, we have a reuse system now with Clean. We send up to 2 million gallons a day for their golf course. That said, there's room for more. We could recycle more.
When are they going to start drinking it?
Maybe not too long. Maybe not too long. El Paso's pretty close. Yeah, it's, San Diego's pretty close. I mean, it's not as far away as, and I think it's becoming more acceptable, to be honest.
Technology's there.
Yes, sir.
It's interesting on this recycling thing. You mentioned earlier something about sludge, picking up sludge. That's from the water treatment plant. That's not from that's purifying the water.
Yes.
That's different from the
Yeah.
treating wastewater.
Right.
Okay, up in Fort Worth, there's a company that gets the waste treatment sludge. And that stuff has everybody's pills and medicines and chemicals that they discard down the drain or whatever.
Yeah.
And that stuff, it's just recently come to light up in the area just south of Fort Worth,
Yeah.
where they're spreading that fertilizer. It's poisoning their cattle. The cattle are dying and having stillborn calves.
Yeah.
And so you gotta be really careful about what you're recycling.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, last slide. So this is the only option right now, large option that I know of that's available. There are a couple of marketers that have leased a bunch of wells, a bunch of water, and we've talked to some, and we think we can make a deal. The problem I have is I just sold $100 million of debt. And so my direct customers are debt poor. I mean, they can't pay without some help. And it's not because people are cheap, it's just they're struggling. And so that's the big thing. But I keep being told that there's ways around to finance this, that we can make it more, comfortable, that everybody can make it work. But I'm not a finance guy expert, so I'm all ears. But I do think that's where the next big source is from the east. And there's a lot of folks east of us that think that we're the devil because we're coming to take their water. But the fact is, all those places have groundwater districts. And groundwater districts are bound by Chapter 36 of the Texas Water Code. All of them have their methods and their accounting that they have to do, and they can't knowingly permit water to us that would somehow negatively impact their existing users. Now that's been done, and they're all getting better science and better attorneys or whatever, but they're getting a lot more careful about it. And so I don't see that as something that would happen with us. Time will tell, but who we've been talking to is north of the Brazos Valley Groundwater District. The Brazos Valley Groundwater District is where Georgetown was seeking water, and I think they were looking for about 50,000 acre feet. At the end of the day, they ended up with about 18, I believe, in lawsuits and so forth. And I don't know when that 18 will come to be, but it didn't work out like they hoped. And they're one of the entities that in 2030, they're going to be in bad shape, if not before, because of their growth, and they just weren't quite ready for it. Round Rock, their neighbor, was part of that Brushy Creek group, and I think at the time, Georgetown just didn't think they were going to have a problem, and well, now they do. And you're in the water business and you have a problem, you're about 10 years too late to do something. So that was on my prepared slide. One more slide, I guess. There you go. That's Jason Dominguez, our treatment superintendent, and John Ortiz, and that's at our still ice water plant. Jason has a lot better smile than I do. I got better, well, I don't have better anything, I guess. It's just had or something. Anyway,
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
last time we were here, we were talking about emergency preparedness. Would you tell them about our backup generators?
Yeah. So we just cut the ribbon on our standby generation facility. It's 10 megawatts. So it'll power our complete plant, everything running. It's fed by a 6-inch natural gas line that we had to install about 11,000 feet of that. But we can run. We can run for days on end in a grid emergency. And it was expensive. We ended up getting a $5 million grant, DAG grant, because of Fort Cavazos helped with it. which helped a bunch, but, it's set to, we lose power, the sensors kick it on, it's been tested 2 or 3 times, and we don't even lose a pump. I mean, it's that quick, you can't even snap your fingers.
Is that mandated?
The Senate Bill 3, after Uri, said you had to have backup power, but it was only for 100 hours. But having been through Uri, we didn't want something that was only gonna last 3 or 4 days and then quit. We wanted something that we could depend on.
So we're leading the pack on that kind of long-term backup power.
Yes, sir.
Other people would need to do the same thing probably.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in process. We actually started before Senate Bill 3 was approved because none of us wanted to go through that again we never completely lost encore power, but the power we were getting was so imbalanced we couldn't run our big pumps. So we were losing ground every day until the temperature rose up. When we were in recovery mode, and this was February, we pumped almost 70 million gallons. A normal February day for us is 28. So we were losing ground until
You're saying in February in the cold weather, you were using more water than normal? Or?
Yeah, because the customers had frozen pipes and leakage
and ripping the faucets.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guys sounds like you're leading the pack. That sounds really good.
Well, we are on that. I'm really proud of it. It took a long time. We started in 2022. We just cut the ribbons, but we have 16 625 kW generators, and they're sections of 2. So we've got a building with 8 and another building with 8, in loss of power, they all 16 come on.
They run on natural gas.
Yes, they all come on, and then they throttle back to match the load that the plant needs. It's an amazing thing. Yes, sir.
Is there natural gas here on a natural flow, or is it got to be pumped?
No, it's off of Atmos high pressure main, and so it's not pumped.
Where are they getting their pressure for the high pressure?
I don't know. They pump it from somewhere.
Pipeline keeps the pressure.
It's a pressurized pipeline.
So they need electricity.
Yeah. So we think ours is 20 PSI plant, which is high for gas. So it's probably around 50 at the meter. I don't know.
So they've got generators too.
Yeah. That was the story too. When we first negotiated our deal with Atmos, they put us on an interruptible plant. We can't really do that. It defeats the whole purpose. But we finally got through and got the right uninterruptible.
I have a quick question. You can produce some potable water. How do you get it up into the tower? Are there generators out in the tower areas?
So now that's the customer. So our job is to get it out of the plant and into their tanks that are sitting on the ground. So they have a pump station there that they have to pump up into their towers, and that's up to them. But I think most of them have at least one generator at each pump station. Some may have full generation. Yes, sir.
How about you hear about the terrorists, people able to get in there and manipulate, hack in or whatever? Have y'all had any issues with people trying to? I've seen the news where they try to hack into multiple power plants, water treatment plants.
Yeah, we haven't had any cyber issues. Our SCADA, which is Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition, is the platform that we control pumps and valves and motors everywhere. It's independent of the network. It's its own closed system. So we've not had anything with that.
So nobody can trebuchet a dead cow into your water tank, huh?
No, I'm not saying that. That's probably more likely. We'd have to do that. We've had some minor vandalism stuff through the years, but we just upgraded our camera system, security system. In fact, somebody backed into our fence about 100 feet outside our gate, but our camera was good enough that the
License plate.
the visibility was so good that the sheriff's office found them same day.
Wow.
Yeah, so it already helped out. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Sir, this Water Alliance,
So, do the bills suggest how the governing body will be formed? Are those going to be new elected positions? Is that going to be currently elected officials out of existing bodies, and then that's like an additional duty? How does that form?
Yeah, so the question was, does the bill address how the governing body will be set up and work? And there are 4 sponsors in the bill, and that's Bell County, that's Clearwater Underground Water District, WCID1, and McLennan County. And the bill says that the board would be appointed by this sponsors. And we went back and forth over how many board members we could have, and I don't remember. I kept wanting smaller, whatever number they threw out, I kept wanting smaller. But I think we ended up at 11 to 13 or something as a max.
Are you elected or
Well, we're a sponsor because we paid for the lobbying and everything to get the bill. So we're listed on the bill as a sponsor. I don't know exactly how to answer that, because I don't know the answer. All right. I put everybody to sleep. It's time to go.
Really appreciate you coming over here tonight and giving us the line out on that. Of course, for security reasons, I've said this several times that, we just have somebody who will waterboard you if you're out of control. Dr. Jones over here. So anyway, one of the things, or actually I do have 2 more things to mention to you, is the last 2 months, because of, one was weather related and one was more of a temporary change in our meeting time, we're a little bit behind on taking up donations to cover the use of this room. So I know that you've seen our little teapot on the way in, and we passed it around again, but if there's anyone in here who could help us with an, nice donation or 2, that would really help. So we need to not fall any further behind, but also kind of catch up for the last 2 months a little bit. It's not bad, but we appreciate everyone's generosity.
How much do we need?
Well, we need to cover $50 for the last 2 months, so $100 will bring us even to where we ought to be. And I don't know, I'm looking at Pat over there.
We might have to pay them.
Okay. So we're good. We're good for today. We just need to catch up a little bit there. I just want to mention that. And then I had Mr. David Carter. I promised him 4 minutes and 17 seconds of time to give just a little bit of information.
I've got 4:30, I'll run it down to 17. Okay, let's start. Folks, this is, I hope this will be a regular feature in the future. Maybe the board will talk about it. But I started off back when I was 21 years old, when I first got involved formally in this process, in which we had 3 book reviews once a week. We had a meeting with about 10 people. And so tonight, I'm going to give you a 2-minute book review on the Venona Secrets, published in 2000. And when the Soviet Union collapsed in 93 or thereabouts, the Comintern, the Communist International Archives, were open to the public and researchers. And this author here, Herbert Romerstein, wrote this book and published it in 2000 as a result of the 1990s research. It's all about a lot of the FBI files were declassified about all the communists they were tracking all over the country in the 20s and 30s and 40s. The Communist Party started in 1918 in America, and it started that same year all over the world. And they've been growing and expanding ever since. So this is a great book to read. You'll understand how devious and how wicked the communist menace is. And it's as great today as it ever was. This next book here was published 10 years later, Dukes. Paul Kengor, he's written a lot of good books. But he tag teamed like a wrestling match off of Romerstein's 2000 book. And so he talks nuts. Well, they weren't communists, they were just duped. But as you read, about 90% of those Jews were probably card-carrying Soviet agents. This is a great book to read and understand why we are where we are, how they infiltrate all avenues of power, all levels of power. How much time do I have? Dude, I still have 2 minutes. Okay, our third book, the lady here, Chris Ann Hall is an Army vet that's got a law degree, and she's written some of the best books I have ever read, about the Constitution and just the government in general, what we have, our form of government, Americanism. She's the best source for you to get to. And this one here is Sovereign Duty. In the states, though they have forgotten it, and those that are elected to the state government were never taught it, the states are sovereign. They stand above the federal government. Everything the federal government does, all the laws, the sovereignty, what is that clause? But all laws made in pursuance thereof, the Constitution, are the law of the land. Not every law they make. And that's a real big difference, and she hammers on that. Thank you very much, Davis.
David is always full of good information, and so we appreciate him a lot. And he's always going down to Austin and doing the same thing, down there whenever he gets an opportunity. So anyway, I have 2 little items of fake news you can trust. We can't get out of here without doing fake news you can trust. But I don't know if you heard that several members of the Girl Scouts of America have been arrested and thrown in jail for selling dangerous sugar and seed oil products. So, I didn't know if anyone had heard that. Of course, I didn't tell that right, because nobody's laughing. Also, too, let's see what my other fake news you can trust still was. Oh yeah, several senators in the legislature are trying to get Trump derangement syndrome put down as an official mental illness. So we have that to look forward to too. But anyway, we have somebody who can lead us in singing as our dismissal this evening. This is Kathleen Burton. She's got a great voice on her, a whole lot better than mine, especially today.
Thank you. You might want to stand. And even at one point, I'd love it if you joined hands. As the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us pledge allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home.